Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake, Professor Storielli, sexy teacher's assistant, David Mendelson. He will be in your DMs after class. We're going report card season. We are 2 months in. It's Memorial Day. And I was curious where this exercise would land, because this is a classic. I mean, how many articles I've read throughout my life that were draft grades or any sort of report card grades on anything. Does it feel a little like BBD in your DMs? A little slutty? Yes. But I think it's an interesting exercise to see where every team is at grade-wise. And I will start with your National League. Let's jump right in. Celtics by 50 tonight. Hope they lose. Let's go to the National League. Baby bro. And we will go east to west, obviously. We're not losers. The Atlanta Braves, they sit on top the National League East. At first, I didn't think I was going to give any A's out in the National League. I was looking around, and there was a lot of, I don't know, I want to be a tough grader, you know? I don't want to be a walkover guy. Do want that chili pepper next to my name on Rate My Professor. I decided I am giving the Braves an A-. And they cheated a little bit because I'm anticipating something. By the way, the season started in March, so we are like at the 2-month mark. They're playing Oakland this week, so they're about to win 3 games. They have a 3-game set. So I am cheating a little bit because I think they're truly a B+, but I think in 3 days they will be an A-. The reason they got that, they are 4.5 games up in their division. You know, 2 months in, that's pretty good. A lot of it is due to the rest of the division slacking. But the other thing for the Braves, the offense has gone. Ronnie and Olsen have been awesome. Riley and Murphy, yep. And then they've had up and down periods by different guys in their lineup. Michael Harris, too, hasn't done anything yet, which that's crazy, but he might be starting to go. More so is because they're pitching. Strider's been the real deal, which people weren't sure if they should fully believe in. They've been without Max Fried a couple times, and he's just been a rock of rocks in Major League Baseball. Kyle Wright's been out. Last year's, what did he win, 20 games? 22 games last year? Something like that. You know, their rotation has been piecemealed together, including Michael Soroka making his first start tonight. Bryce Elder, we kind of joked about his baseball savant. All in all, they're going to be 35-21 in a couple days. B+ didn't fully feel right. I think A- was fair. There was one other team in the National League that I did realize deserved an A right as I was doing the exercise. We'll get to them on the West Coast. And the East, the Marlins, B-. They're technically second in the East. That can change in one day. They've called up Yuri Perez, and he looks like the truth. And they've got another one of those guys, which is just like how Breaking Bad meme. How do they keep getting away with this without doing any of the other stuff? But if I told you they would have been without Jazz Chisholm for a chunk of time, you probably would have said this offense would be dead last in like everything. They're not. Jorge Soler's been incredible for them this year. Luis Arias, I think if you're Miami, you do that trade every time. Like, I know Pablo Lopez is good, but you've been so thirsty for hitting, and he's, you know, looking like he could be on his way to the batting title. So, happy for the Marlins. It's a little bit of a don't care B-. Just getting through class. Same story. But when your competition in class, the New York Mets, you are a game up on them. You've had a lot of injuries. I think if you're being real, it's a C flat. That might even be generous. They're 500 as we sit here. The only reason I have them at C, I'll lower it to C-. Screw the Mets. They have had a lot of injuries. We've talked about it a lot recently. They got Verlander back. They got Carrasco back. Scherzer was out for some interesting reasons. Their lineup has been one of the weirder things in baseball. The lack of first-inning offense when the top of their lineup you think would be their strength has been bizarre. Alonso's been great. Alvarez has picked it up at the end of the semester. C- feel right? Is that wrong? They're 500. They're supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball.
C- is maybe like the highest I'd have gone. I know some injuries and stuff, but I thought we might be heading towards a harsher grade for them. They're supposed to be one of the 3 best teams.
Well, they might be getting covered up by the Phillies, who I think they've got to be a D. Like, they're 25 and 28, which again, with, we're a third of the way through the semester, which, by the way, I think that's where report cards landed for me by the end of high school. I think I would get 3 report cards a year. Do you know where your high school ended up landing?
We did quarters.
Quarters? I think we went quarters, then we went 2, and then we landed at 3. I don't know how that happened.
Trimesters.
Anyways,
couple colleges do that, and they're revolutionary.
The Phillies are 25 and 28. They're 3 games below 500. They are closer to the Nationals than any other team in the NL East. I mean, what can you say? I mean, Schwarber, Turner. We made such a deal about Bryce Harper rushing back, and that was cool. I think Castellanos has been their best hitter, who he was not out of commission last year, but 24th in starting pitching ERA. This is supposed to be a team that, Nola and Wheeler up top. They carry the meat of it. You get some other pitching performances. I mean, someone could throw out an F. I think luckily where the rest of the division is, I think with Harper having come back, like the Harper thing is crazy. I know we did talk about it a lot, but they interviewed Topper during the game last night, and they were like, hey, when's Harper going to be playing first base? And it was like, good question, because that was a whole topic, and Bryce has been playing for a little bit now. They said not till the All-Star break, which, like, I guess for me, that just puts into perspective, like, how messed up Bryce's arm is, and that he is playing is kind of cool. But if you're the Phillies, it could be worse. It could be worse.
They've had enough runs to get themselves like back to 500 a couple times, and then they keep putting themselves in the hole. And
feels like they keep doing that race, and then one day we're gonna look up and they'll get 3 games above 500, and it's like, okay, Phillies, let's go. But Rhys Hoskins out for the year at the start of the season. A guy that constantly has an OPS in the 8s. Like, guess what? They've missed that guy. They still have the names in their lineup, and Bryson Stott has had a nice year that, like, they should land all of this. And June this sounds really dumb, but I think it's going to be the biggest month of the baseball season because I think it's going to separate everything. If you flunk the dunk in June, you're out, Pop, in the words of Joe's and Lou. You could convince me into an F. I think there's bigger Fs out there. Washington Nationals, C+. Have at it. Some of your young players are really performing. Some of the young pitchers, Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore, showing you some flashes. Kyle Finnegan's been good out of the pen. Patrick Corbin's been salvageable for a little bit.
He's given some league average innings here and there.
And their offense has they're third in batting average, 20th in OPS. So hey,
it's an identity.
They're still not really going anywhere, but they got the Phils in striking distance 2 months. They could easily be lumped in with Kansas City, or we thought Oakland, although nobody's lumped in with them. And they're not. So really, really happy for our Nationals.
Luis Garcia been doing particularly good of late. Someone tweeted at me, make sure you say that.
6-hit day. That'll do it. The Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central. The Brewers will get a B-. I mean, they're in first place. They've done enough. Their pitching, their starting pitching has been arguably top 10. And Burns hasn't been like a world beater. Peralta's been good. I don't know. It just feels like the same story. It feels like their grade would be worse if the Cardinals didn't have the worst month in, like the worst opening month in Cardinals history. It feels like the Brewers have been protected by that a little bit, and they've got an interesting stretch coming up. They're going at Toronto and then at Cincinnati, which those games matter, which makes me say, like, the B- feels generous. The B- feels like you know the professor. And you kind of do. You let the professor run on your field. Round it up. Yeah. We had a good time out there. They played a bunch of kids that kind of came in hot and then ended up cold. Willy Adames is going to be out for a little bit now. The only guy that's really got Brewers devil magic is Owen Miller, who's been hitting a ton lately. I don't know. It would be like, I think the Brewers right now are the example of the teacher being like, hey, I know you're sitting pretty right now.
You have coasted.
But if you skip one more class, your grade automatically goes down 5 points. Like, those are the rules of the class. And then you have like a C, a solid C. So Brewers are on watch a little bit in this important June, and I think the Cardinals are coming. Tell you what, the Pirates aren't. But hey, Pirates, they'd probably get a B- too, right? They were an A+, and then they were an F.
They stumbled into winter break.
Yeah, they were like a 98, and then I don't know. They rushed, and I don't know. They started drinking on Wednesday nights, and the grades started to falter a little.
Seems like they took a Scantron test and just got like one question off, and they didn't fix that, and were being a little rude.
Maybe the new Call of Duty came out, and just staying up till 3 a.m. doing that. You all kind of know the Pirates story, but the fact that they're 26-26, they should still get snaps, even though their May has been awful. But I'll give them and the Brewers the same grade. How about this? Cincinnati Reds are 24-29. What do you give them? I'll go C+, because, okay, I love the youth movement. I love that we're playing young guys. I almost went B- again because I thought that would be funny for the whole crew. But the Pittsburgh Pirates are 3 games better than them. And if we're talking young talent, like the Pirates have a bunch of young guys playing too. So, I don't know. The Reds have a little bit of good juice. They're almost, like, if I'm the professor, I'm a lot more excited about my student of the Cincinnati Reds than I am the Pirates.
And we were just so excited about the Pirates.
We were, and
they
hey,
let us down a little bit.
You know, they've been without O'Neal Cruz, who was supposed to be like their, you know, if they did take a leap, he would have to be their Adley Rutschman type deal.
Yeah.
Reds
are just in a different, like, Reds fans love you in your heart of hearts. You don't believe you're going to be like in the playoff picture. Or Pirates, I think they're still telling themselves, all right, we correct ourselves in June. We're still in the mix and having fun this summer.
Reds fans don't believe, but they want to believe. Pirates fans want to believe.
They believed for a sec already.
They believed, and now it's not looking so hot.
June's important.
The Cincinnati Reds, they have a lot of young ball players playing good baseball. If they call up another couple prospects and they have a week, they'll be there. The St. Louis Cardinals, 24-31. The worst April you've seen. I'm going D+. That plus is there because they've had a solid May. They can make it a good May if they win their 2 games against the Kansas City Royals, which, like, come on, Cardinals, you should. it really changes the scope of their May. They're showing signs, right? Like, they weren't showing up to class. They were not handing in homework assignments. They were failing the tests. And then it felt like they had the wake-up call. They're like, okay, like, yeah, I'll hand in assignments. I will show up to class. They did good on a couple tests. They still need to get a lot better, but they're making strides. Cubs? They're a D. They're a D. They're not an F, although they're in the bottom of the Central, but that could change in literally a game's notice, and they could almost be third. The fact of the matter is, if the Cardinals are a D+ and a half game above the Cubs, you can't really give too much different a score. It's just that plus is because the Cardinals are showing the signs. They showed up to some teacher hours. The Cubs,
in the right direction.
The Cubs started the year. They showed up for some teacher hours. You know, maybe they had a good group assignment that they were a part of. You wondered how involved they were. Not looking super involved. That's for the Cubs to be Memorial Day, last place. And I guess maybe the sadder part is, if you're Cubs fans and if you're being real with yourself, the fact it's not an F is also a little sad. Like, but you kind of got to be honest with the roster. It's still weird. Like, if I told you Stroman and Steele had been two of the best pitchers in the National League, like, remember Patrick Wisdom's start? I don't know. The Cubs can very much, I guess why it's a D is the Cubs can still very much salvage things and have a nice June and be 500 and all right, Cubbies. Nico Horner missed some time, but he's good. Dansby, Happ. Seiya showed flashes. They called up Morel and Mervis.
Hey, Drew Smiley, you've been good.
The bullpen's been bad. There's some numbers you can like about the Cubs. They're in a math class or an accounting class or something where they can do one thing well, and you're like, okay, like, let's bring that to everything. But they haven't. Let's go out west. The Dodgers, I'm also putting it a B+. And the only reason it was different, they're playing the Nats for 3, and I just gave the Braves a B+ to an A-. But you know what? No, it is a B+. The record would probably tell you A. Their starting pitcher ERA, 16th. Their bullpen ERA is 24th. You know, ERA not perfect sometimes, but they haven't felt like the scary, scary Dodgers of previous years. They're playing a lot of young guys. They are on top of the NL West. It felt like it took a little bit to get going. Man, they have the injury bug. Their rotation right now, Kershaw, Stone, Miller, Gonsolin, and Syndergaard. Lost Gavin Lux before the season. Remember when he was kind of a guy for them? I mean, they almost have a full IL rotation. Buehler, May, Urias, Pepio, and Grove, if you're into that. They've got a lot of injuries in the bullpen, too. Trinan, Hudson, Fireisen. There's an argument for A. I'll go B+. If you want to fight me, Dodger fans, you can. Or how about this? I can pencil in that the Braves are going to sweep Oakland. God, that's going to come back to bite me, huh? 'Cause that's not how sports work. I can't pencil in that the Dodgers will sweep the Nationals. What does that mean? Probably nothing, and Dodger fans already turned this off. The A in the National League is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Who are we kidding? They're 30-23. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 30-23. They have a better record than the Brewers, the Mariners, Angels, Blue Jays, Twins, Red Sox, Mets, Giants, Phillies, Cardinals, obviously. They are one of 8 teams in baseball with 30 wins. The other 8 you expected: Yankees, Dodgers, Houston, Atlanta, Texas, Baltimore, Tampa. The Diamondbacks, for where their expectations were, kind of a prey to be in wild card contention. They have done it. They've done it pretty much from the start of the year. They have a star in Corbin Carroll. And their lineup, man, it's not all the names are flashy, but Ketel Marte has been a good baseball player for a long time. Christian Walker, the past few years, has been a really good baseball player. Same with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And that's never mind some of the effort they're getting from younger players. Perdomo at the bottom of their lineup, he's been an A+. Longoria, when he chips in. And they've been getting more than enough pitching. Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, sneaky high up if you're doing 1-2s around the league so far this year. Not the names that come off your tongue traditionally. They've been good. Their bullpen, especially the back end, has been good, which, I don't know, feels a little smokes and mirrory. The offense is pretty electric. They're 8th in runs, 8th in OPS, 6th in stolen bases. It just feels like they come at you a bunch of different ways. They're still trying out a lot of young guys, and that can teeter either way. But how can you not say the 30-23 Diamondbacks are an A? You can't. You can't not.
Shout out one of our guys, Torey Lovello.
Yeah, right?
Gave him that little extension. All of a sudden, teams got some juice.
They believed in what they were doing, and nobody else really did, if we're being honest. Including myself. #1 Snakes fan. San Francisco Giants recently got hot, have had a good May. They're 27-26, a game above 500. They retooled this offseason. I think it's a B-. I don't know. Were you lower or higher?
I think I would have gone with like a B. Like it obviously isn't dominant, but season ends today. They're in the playoffs.
That's a crazy thought, huh?
Mets and Rats, both a half game out.
They have a Pirates series coming up. 6th in starting pitcher ERA. They're 13th in OPS. Conforto has gone for them. It's one of those things you look at the lineup and you shrug again. You look at Logan Webb, Cobb, and DeScalfani, who people kind of were out on to start this year. They've been good. The back end of their bullpen is starting to click. Doval has been one of the best relievers in baseball. I'm going to stay B- because it's... I don't know. Like, they finish off this week going to Baltimore, and if they get swept, Baltimore in San Francisco, like I would sit there on Talking Baseball and say, yeah, like they're lined up Webb, Cobb, and DeScalfani. That's going to be fun. I'll go B-. They needed to be in the mix. That's where they are. They're a game above 500. Right now, Fangraphs gives them a 52.9% chance to make the playoffs. So maybe I am low on them. They recently came around for me. I feel like if I'm the professor in this situation, one of the other professors, there you go. Professor Plouffe, when we were meeting up for teacher conferences where, Trevor was like, oh, do you have San Francisco in your class? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. He's all right. He doesn't really participate. He's not, feels like he's doing kind of the bare minimum. And Professor Plouffe was like, there's a little more there. And I'm starting to believe in it.
Hey, 10 games ago, they would have been a C.
It feels like
C-.
there's more underachieving students around them that are helping them out. So I don't know. Speaking of underachieving students, San Diego Padres, they're an F. They're an F. They're 24-29. Their fans were in my Twitter comments all weekend being obnoxious. Like saying, why are you being rude to our team? Because your team's being rude to you. Wake up. Tatis was out for like 3 weeks. He's been back. 24-29, you're a half game up on the Rockies. You're hanging out with the Rockies and the Nats. You're supposed to be the team that was going to take down the Dodgers. I mean, maybe they still go, but their offense hasn't all year. 29th in batting average. Oakland is in the league. 23rd in OPS. 24th in runs.
Have you seen... I know we talk about offense at the catcher position.
Sure.
But have you seen what they've gotten from their catchers?
I've seen a little bit. Them and the Guardians.
Got a taste this weekend.
Historic.
And I guess with both of them, they're not getting that much help on the other end. I'm sure those guys all call a great game. Maybe the framing numbers are there. But those two teams both are getting run on like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're not helping that part of the game. I know the rules changed around them, but
changed for everyone.
The only shout out I've got for the Padres, which I discovered last night when I went on a Padres show and they taught me some things. Fernando Tatis, the offense, we know there's more there for him. It's trending the right way, I think. We saw some good stuff.
Yeah.
Have you seen, like, we didn't get a great taste this weekend of his defense in right field? He's been, like, the best right fielder.
Okay.
He's been incredible out there. They said, like, and anecdotally, like, I don't recall any fuck-ups. He's thrown a few guys out that the infielder he threw it to dropped it, or, like, it was a great slide or whatever. Like, if they shake it up, like, they're talking about getting him to center field full-time. If they can get a corner outfielder, it's a very real option. His sprint speed, very underrated part of his game. Like, he's got special speed.
He got to one, I think it was a foul out that he got to very easily that I didn't think was a foul ball, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's Fernando Tatis.
So just shout out Fernando. Been a great outfielder.
His offense is going to go a lot more. Yeah, we saw the start of it. I mean, he missed all of 2022. They're without Machado right now. I think there will be a go button moment for this Padres team, but it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. You're a loss away from being the Rockies.
They've punted offensively on too many positions. There's a lot of Yankees comparisons. I'm sure we're going to get there, but they've punted completely on offense at the catcher spot. They go, and that's more last year because they do it in center field too. Ha-Seong Kim, love him, but he's overperforming. But come on.
I mean, you know, you could compare their lineup to the Yankees, but the Yankees have 8 more wins.
Yeah. Vibes-wise.
6 less losses. They, they're about... Yankees are 4th in homers offensively. Like, I know there's a couple guys cooking that, but... and first in bullpen ERA. Yankees are playing in the toughest division, and they're in 3rd place, and we'll get there. But Padres, you got to be honest with yourself. This is not where you want it to be come Memorial Day.
They're getting avarexed by Rugi right now.
We don't talk about that here. Rockies. I don't know. It feels like you just take your C- every year. And that's the plan. So, sad ending to the National League there, huh? But the American League is brought to you by DraftKings. Hit it out of the park this baseball season with DraftKings Sportsbook. $5 bet will get you $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's like their big one. If you're looking to get in the game, now's the time. They've got their stepped-up same-game parlays. Rack up a couple bets. Win bigger. And with code BAKERS, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code BAKERS. You will get You can bet $5 and get $200 bets and bonus bets instantly. That's code BAKERS only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's head over to that American League East, comparing the Yankees and the Padres. No time for that. I have no time for that. And we won't even start with them because the Rays are an A+. Undefeated April. Just a reminder, and I think I'm going to tweet this out in a second, and we just talked about it on Talking Baseball. The Rays are first in batting average, on base plus slugging, runs, homers, and steals. Literally the snapshot, what Fangraphs has shown as the snapshot of every important offensive category, they're in first place. And normally offense comes third with the Rays. It's normally pitching, it's normally defense, and then it's hitting. I mean, if you add like base running and platoons and stuff, like pure power hitting should be last, and they're breaking home run records. You guys already know this, so this part isn't as informative. But they just got Glasnow back. They've had injuries themselves. The Eflin signing has been fantastic. And they've got two of their top prospects that may be on the way to help too. That the Rays, there's no other discussion but A+. And I think right behind them, the Baltimore Orioles. And this is where I was hesitant to give the Dodgers an A. It's because the Baltimore Orioles are an A. I think they missed an A+ by decimals, and they're pissed off about it. They hate the Rays. If the Rays didn't exist, Baltimore would be an A+ of A+s, right? They're 34-19. They're the second best record in baseball. Better than Houston, better than the Dodgers, better than the Braves. It's Tampa, Baltimore, and it's been that way most of the season. And it's been that way basically since they've called up Adley Rutschman, which baseball doesn't work that way, but it also kind of does because there's also a lot of young talent around him that has helped them go. I guess the only thing where Baltimore doesn't get the A+, I mentioned Tampa could regress and be a top 5 offense. You know, Tampa's pitching. The Orioles offense right now, they're 11th in OPS, 15th in average, 11th in homers, 5th in steals. Okay. You know, you're around a top 10 offense. The starting pitching still has some sus numbers, and we've talked about that. And is that ever going to come back to bite them? The way they play, I don't really think so. I guess my fear would be bullpen overuse because they have a good bullpen. So if we start getting into some dog days and you start seeing that Baltimore bullpen that is a strength start to come down, that would be your note. But their starting pitching has room to get better. I think their offense has room to get better. They feel better than a top 10 offense. Mullins and Rutschman are elite, and that lineup's so deep. And by the way, number 1 prospect in baseball, Gunnar Henderson, he hasn't really gone. He's been brutal versus lefties that kill his numbers, and he is a lefty. So his numbers versus righties is actually okay, solid. But he's going to get better. And he's their 7th hitter in their lineup right now. So Baltimore's an A. They should be pissed off at the Rays. Like if this is a is it valedictorian? Is there another V in there? No,
valedictorian.
Valedictorian. Salutatorian. That's runner up.
I think so. I never know exactly how that works, but that is the next thing.
Those are those two. I mean, and it's kind of without discussion, even though I just discussed it. Which brings me to my New York Yankees. BBD, our New York Yankees. A slop of an April. A May that felt half sloppy with one hot stretch. They've been one of the best teams of May. They're 7 games back of the Rays. They're 3 games back of the Orioles. if we're being honest, the Yankees' start to the season is a B. Yeah? You hate it.
Well, I was leaning harsher, and the more I think on it, like, just looking at the record, take what the Rays and Orioles have done out of it. Is this a surprising record? It's just a little below what we would have hoped for as Yankee fans. I don't think it's way off a record we probably expected. And they are, obviously it's early to do standings checks, but they're in a wild card spot right now and 3 games up on Boston and Seattle for being out of one. So there's ostensibly like a cushion there.
They have the same record as the Dodgers.
Like I think B feels right.
You know, in
my head I was thinking
I realized
generous B minus.
There's been some tough emotions around this Yankee season, and we're too locked in. And by the way, if your team's report card grade came out and you felt it was wrong, comment below. Let's hear it. The Yankees have been a B. They're getting a little worked by some other members in their class. In May, they showed that they could keep up more. Like, I think the Yankees got challenged, and they answered the challenge well. They had a good May. I know the second half of the lineup didn't feel good at times. Guess what? There's help coming. Stanton's coming. Potentially Donaldson.
Of late, they've gotten like just enough from these guys that we don't expect anything from right now.
And I guess the other thing that's been going through my head, they just got Luis Severino back.
The starting pitching overall did all right. They stayed afloat with everyone being out or underperforming.
Number 1 in bullpen ERA, and they're missing a whole bullpen back there. So you got to get...
They're missing a whole bullpen, and I think towards the top of a lot of people's wish lists, besides like a new left fielder, is like a new best reliever. Like, so given that feels like the one hole in the bullpen.
If I told you the Yankees in April that the Yankees did not have a lockdown closer, Rodon hasn't thrown a pitch, Nestor has 2 starts, Sevy has 2 starts. Nestor has been one of the worst pitchers in baseball the third time through the lineup. And the second half of the lineup had been ugly. What would you think the Yankees' record would have been? Around 500?
I would guess they're like just over 500.
They're the Yankees, so you lean that way.
They figure that out. I believe in Booney.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Bantering. 32-23. I think a B is the honest answer. They're going on a little left coast trip right now. Seattle and the Dodgers. Hello. Let's see how we're feeling after that. They come home to the Sox, both of them, white and red. I think B is honest. They basically the same record as the Dodgers. Meanwhile, in their division, they've had 2 teams setting the world on fire. Well, the other 2 teams behind them, also good. The Boston Red Sox are 28-25. Now, this is an interesting one. Because this is kind of what Red Sox fans wanted. The team has an identity. The offense is arguably a top 5 offense. The bullpen, arguably a top 10 bullpen. There's some numbers.
There's enough guys in there that they trust in a game you want to win.
And as we sit right now, they have 7 healthy starting pitchers on their roster. Now, what you think of these starting pitchers obviously changes that. Chris Sale has looked good. Garrett Whitlock just came back. Houck Bayo has had a hot stretch. James Paxton is pitching in Major League Baseball games. Kluber and Pivetta have been kicked to the pen kind of for now. I think Kluber's going to get a start this week. I think if Sox fans had to vote for the odd man out right now, it'd be Kluber. We mentioned June matters. Very interested to see what these Red Sox bring in June. Because, like we talked about with the Cardinals, remember when the Cardinals' depth was a problem and they're sending down the top prospect and Tyler O'Neill's getting yelled at? They had a lot of lineup depth and they were losing a lot of games. If the Red Sox don't play well, your starting pitching depth is now, why is he starting? Why isn't this guy starting? And you start getting into those conversations. They play 2 series with the Yankees in June. Those should be intense. They also open with the Rays. The Red Sox grade to this part of the season. I have an answer, but I'm worried about my answer. What would you give them, Babes?
In my thinking on it the last couple minutes here, I think I go to a B-. Like, just overall, I don't think anyone outside of Boston had them having this good a record. They felt like probably the favorite to finish last in the AL East.
But I guess that's I would use that for where I landed, and I was going to say B+. You're not in last. Your lineup is good and has an identity. Yoshida's awesome.
Yep.
You've gotten performances from young guys at different times. Duran, Casas, hell, Wong. And you're starting pitching that, let's be honest, nobody was sure about. But everyone's healthy and here.
They're sticking to the plan.
Like if you told Red Sox fans at the start of the season, hey, Memorial Day, Monday, 28-25, and all 7 of those starting pitchers are healthy.
You're the first team out of the playoffs right now.
I think you're shaking hands. I think they make that deal. So maybe the answer is a little boring with a B. I think I'm going to go B+. And I think, again, going back to the professorisms, I think if I was a professor that cared, like, I would almost grab the Red Sox after class and I'd be like, these next couple weeks, this is where you have to earn it. And maybe they will. Like, I can believe in Chris Sale being good. I can believe in Whitlock being good. Bayo, everyone tells me he's good. Can James Paxton have good starts? I've seen that. And if they get that, the Sox are dangerous, man. Or, guess what? They could be bad. They could be bad. Speaking of your last place Toronto Blue Jays, they are 28-26. They get a D. I don't know, man. Yes. Because, okay, if I just gave that Red Sox speech about where they want to be and where they thought they'd be before the season, if you ask Blue Jays fans where they want to be before the season, they'd say first place. It's not a D, is it? They're 2 games above 500.
Yeah.
They're better than every AL Central team.
Yeah.
It's not a D. That felt reactive. Know what that was? Have you ever had a teacher that kind of gave you a little lesser grades or better grades because they either liked you or didn't like you? That's what just happened. Me and one of my buddies in 8th grade, Pat Hapkin, shout out. Teacher loved me and hated him. It's just a fact. We handed in a quiz, all the same answers. I got an A, he got a D. Problem. We addressed it with the professor. And we took care of it, and everyone's happy now. But that was me being a mean professor. Like, the Blue Jays kind of, like, D-bagged me in class a couple times.
This was your chance to...
Showed up late, and I kind of found my chance to go, and that was a little rude. I think it's a C-. They are a team that thinks they should be first place in the East, and they are in last. That's factual. With a good week or two, not only are they in the playoffs, I mean, they could jump the Yankees. They're 3.5 games back of the Yankees. That if the Yankees have a 2-4 week, and they have a 5-1, bada bing, bada boom, that hasn't happened, and that's not how report cards work. They're very much getting hurt by the AL East, but this is also the team that got their manager fired, and we're happy to do so. And the popcorn quote from last year, and all the young stars. And if I told them, again, if you told Blue Jay fans that, hey, by the way, the Bassett signing, mint. He's going to be great. What if I told you this? Barrios, it's going to click. He's going to be back. They'd say, yeah. What if I told you Matt Chapman was going to be the player of the month of April? Like, if you told Blue Jay fans that, they'd say first place. Like, yep, first place Jays. No, they're in last.
And they were... On April 29th, they were 18-9. Like
they've had a horrible May.
It's been a horrible May.
So maybe I'm being nice with the C-.
They're
trending down.
They're trending
down. They did have a great April, though. They had a very good April.
Yeah. That almost made it worse. You look at like the snapshot of that team, like each facet of the team, and just each of them are like
good.
Just they're all good, fine. They're all in like the lowest that I think you would have like reasonably predicted. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I think if you
starting pitchers, those rankings are all fine, but you thought it'd be a little more.
It's just how it happens. It's how it happened with the starters. Like if you told Blue Jay fans Manoah would be a piñata, like they would have been shocked. Like Gossman has been great. Bassett and Barrios, to be honest. Kikuchi's shown flashes.
Bassett, as far as overall numbers, we know there's another level there. Barrios has been mostly good.
Bassett gets skewed by his first start. After that,
that's true.
He's been incredible.
That's true. He had the terrible opener.
Springer had a tough start, and Varsho has to go for them. I say C-. Their April was good.
We landed on C- as of right now.
I'm staying with it. And yes, if you're listening to this, part of it is I don't want to deal with Blue Jay fans. They can wear you out. And their April was good. And all these numbers say they should be better. So you know what? Go do it. But man, baseball schedules are tough this year. Milwaukee at the Mets, Houston. There's just never a break. There's never a break. AL East is brutal. All right, let's get through this part of class because this part of class stinks. The Minnesota Twins. C+. How about this? And this is why. This is where they get the plus. Their starting pitching has been electric. Most strikeouts, fourth in ERA, second in WHIP. Like, you went out, you got Pablo Lopez. That has paid off. Your starting pitching has been incredible. That's something that they haven't said in Minnesota land forever. The offense has been arguably bottom 10, which that's a little shocking. That's kind of the opposite. Where people may be surprised that the first place Twins, who are half a game above 500, 27-26, if you told Twins fans before the season, hey, the Guardians are going to be awful. And guess what? The White Sox ain't going to click either. Twins fans should be, the Minnesota Twins should have like an 8-game lead. They have a 1-game lead on the Detroit Tigers. Twins, you're a C+. Your offense needs to go. And maybe it will. They just got some people back. Royce Lewis, can he be the spark? The Detroit Tigers are in second place in the AL Central, despite almost anything the numbers would tell you. But they've won games, and in the AL Central, that's been enough. 1 game out of first place. If I told any Tiger fan that, and Memorial Day, that they were a game back of first place, they wouldn't have believed me. They would have said lies. You sit on a throne of lies, Elf. They get a B+. I don't know. You know, it's this for me. I took a probability and statistics class that everyone failed, so it got rated on a bell curve. Like, we went through the whole semester. Everyone in the class was looking around at each other like, wait, are we all going to fail? Is this dude going to fail all of us? And then at the end, he was like, all right, I'm going to grade everyone on a bell curve because I kind of have to keep my professor license. We're like, all right, thanks, professor. This was fun. They get a B+ just because of the bell curve. Their offense has still been bad. Their starting pitching has taken leaps. They've had 2 starters that had great Mays in Erod and Lorenzen. Even Fadao and Boyd have been solid for them. So if they're young guys, if they get anything on offense, they could hang around in the AL Central, which is sad. B+, Tigers. Congrats. Guardians. Guardians get an F. Maybe that's dramatic. Maybe it's not. This team won the Central last year, no? They were all young and supposed to get better, right? Their offense is worse than Oakland. Their offense is worse than Oakland. That in and of itself, I'm sorry. Guard dogs, I want you to have a better report card going forward. What was that class I took? I forget. It was some computer program that Microsoft Outlook. I basically had a whole class that was that program. Does anyone use Outlook?
Yeah.
What is it even? It's like kind of emails,
some companies,
but with stuff.
Some companies use, like we use Gmail for our calendars and
Maybe
emails. Some companies are Outlook for their calendars and emails and all that.
I don't even think it was Outlook. I think it was something else that I very much don't use and nobody uses. I missed a week, and it was like the most important week of the class, and I was so lost. They missed offense. 30 in OPS, 30 in runs, 30 in homers. They might be bad. Don't care. Chicago White Sox, D. It's the same story there. I'm bored of it. I'm sick of it. Liam Hendricks is back, and I hope he can be the spark, and they're only 6 games back somehow. BBD, I'm going to be soft. Wait. Let me go out west. Actually, yeah, the Guardians are an F. Like, look at the American League. If you had to give one team an F, who would you give it to?
Them.
Yeah.
Mariners, I know we've clowned them for these last 2 weeks being bad teams, but they at least handled that.
Cleveland's an F. I almost took it back. I'm glad I didn't. White Sox are a D. You pretty much know why. I hope they get involved in this season. That would actually be fun. Top 6 of their lineup is actually looking kind of juicy right now. They've been pitching a little bit. Don't care until they start to win. Royals. Are they enough?
Are they enough?
I mean, I guess they had no expectations, but what's that meme? Like, we thought it was bad, but oh my God, this. Yeah. Like, if Oakland didn't exist.
Yeah, their
record is big. I'll go F+. Bobby Witt Bobby Witt, and actually go D-. I love Pasquantino. He's nice to me. Witt, Pasquantino, and Salvi Perez have been good. That's about it. And guess what? That's what you would have said coming into the season. So, boy, do they stink. Let's go out west where we give another A. It's the Texas Rangers. Holy cow. They have arguably the second best offense in baseball. They have the number 1 starting pitcher ERA without DeGrom. We've been on it here. We've been on it on Talking Baseball. It's pretty unreal how good they are. They were without Seager for a while, and they were still mashing, and he's their best hitter. Up and down the lineup, they're a problem. They're getting the starting pitching. Their bullpen has been probably not as bad as the ERA would tell you. They're 15th in WHIP. They're going to get better out there with either starting pitching depth or trades. They get an A. They are the 3rd best team in baseball right now, and you didn't have that for the Texas Rangers coming into the year. And it feels real. Like you don't, you get in the Marlins numbers, you got in a couple other team, the Tigers numbers. None of those feel real or are real. Rangers are. Astros are a B+. They're 2 games back of the Rangers. They got off to a slow start. They were without Altuve. Abreu didn't hit at all. They had the injury bug a little bit. And guess what? There they are in fine position, waiting for the Rangers to slip up for one weekend, and they'll probably take over first place. Rangers, Astros, Yankees, 3 best teams in May. And that shows. Seattle Mariners are a... I wish I could answer after this Yankee series. What did I give the Blue Jays?
We landed on a C+ for the Jays.
I'll go C+ for Seattle. They just saved it. It should have been a C. They're 28 and 25. They just had a nice stretch against Oakland, another bad team, the Pirates. But they won their games. They're 28 and 25. Julio didn't go. He's starting to go. They're getting efforts from different guys, especially in that rotation. Bryce Miller, who are you? They've salvaged it in recent weeks. Angels, 28 and 26, a half game back from the Mariners. You know what? They both get C's. Screw them. Sorry, BBD. I keep changing grades. Mariners and Angels are both C flat. They can change their standings on either day. BBD, I change it one more time. Mariners are a C. The Angels are a C+. Mariners had different expectations. Angels' goal was to survive. They just got swept by the Marlins, which brought them from a B- to a C+. Mariners were supposed to be the Rangers, and now the Rangers are the Rangers. So you're a C, Pop. And I sneaky think the Yanks are going to give them the business. That's going to come back to bite me because it's a West Coast trip, and that's not how baseball works. And the Mariners are hot. Oakland A's get an A. They've achieved their goal this year. And their mascot, or their letter, is literally an A. So, sound off below in the comments. Thank you, guys. Long-winded episode, but it was report card season, so maybe we'll do another one 2 months from now. Let me know where I was right, where I was wrong. We will see you guys Monday.